playground experience. I got here with my lovely co-host April Williams and our special guest Sean Barker. Mr. Barker is on here with
I thought
us.
I was I thought I was a co-host tonight, not a special guest.
You're co-host too as well, but you're special. You're special. Yes, he is a co-host.
Yo,
Yes, yes,
you're a
co-host.
lion. You're a divine masculine. Woo.
And a
I'm,
divine
I'm, an,
feminine.
I'm an
Woo!
exotic creature.
See, that's
Yeah.
why I didn't make that joke because his spirit came and talked to me and said, "Please don't say you caught me in the wow again." I was like, "I won't do that again, Sean." Okay, so yes, we have that time I didn't do it, so I'm off the hook. But yeah, so we have our own Sean here, and I think that's nice that although and lovely Kathy D is on homecoming, she's going to relive her homecoming experience all over again through the
Hmm.
kids. So that's a lovely experience for her to do that because April said for her to do that, and I said that too, but April had also had sanctioned it and said do that. So right now, we might have from time to time fluctuating in and out co-host new ones as well. But like I said, Sean is special. He's not really special because he's always been on here, but he's special because he always gives us that next level of knowledge that April and I have, but it's always good to have that new energy that comes in too as well. And so they kind of give their own kind of aspect to things. So that's a great
Hmm.
thing. So
Hmm.
let's talk like we usually do, which is like the energies, how things going for everybody. I would say for me, it's kind of been up and down, kind of weak. Just learning how to really ground and surrender. That's what's
Hmm.
been going
Hmm.
on with me and saying, okay, I'm gonna get mastery. Like it might have seemed like it had gotten over with me, but me really going back to the drawing board and say, okay, let me go back and reassess. Let me go back and re-strategize this because something I'm not doing right. I need to go back and do this in a way that I feel like is resonates with my heart in doing it more so than with my mind. And if it doesn't work out, hey, you know what? Throw it up, ball it up, put it in the garbage can and start back over again. And it's okay. Giving myself validation and saying authorization, they said, and permission that it's okay that, hey, I thought it was going to work out this way, but it didn't seem like it did. I found myself this week doing a lot of forgiveness prayer, the
Hmm.
Ho'oponopono prayer, a lot of it, just telling myself about things that were just coming up for the past that I had forgotten, didn't really understand it. So it's been a lot of aha moments about some things about the parts that I played, how I've been prospectively looking at things and my insight on things, and really coming down to it and say, you know what, I apologize. I apologize that I put you in that position. I apologize, I thank you. I forgive you for doing that. I thank you. I love you. And it's been over and over again, making sure that I ground myself in that type of energy. So that's what's been going on for me. It's just a lot of surrendering, retrying, reassessing, trying it out, seeing it doesn't work, maybe trial and error, but then forgiving myself when it doesn't, instead of being so piling it on heavy on myself to say, see, you did it and it didn't work out, and having that negative self-talk, more so of okay, you tried, it's okay, reparenting. So that's where I've been kind of at this week. Where have you been at,
Hmm.
April? What's your energy? Is that put you on mute? You on mute.
No,
Okay.
very similar. Lots of shedding of old energies, and like you're saying, like re-looking at them, choosing selectively reprogramming, right? But in order to reprogram, you actually have to look at what is, and that requires some things that may or may not be fully comfortable. Hi, baby. I'm filming. Anyway, so in terms of healing it, finding out from my earliest perspective, and then I'm also looking at it from the perspective of my child, right? Like, so how do I promote your education? How do I promote your well-being while also letting you be free to oh, cast a beautiful, beautiful space. Where am I?
Ooh.
Where am I? No pressing the computer, you.
Mhm.
So it's actually been super, super cathartic, and I've been using multiple methods of getting into that deep space and reprogramming the womb space and allowing for um, the next generations to continue to be greater, right? So I've had to shed all of the layers associated with what I would call the bridging the gap and why the gap has been created in the first place and why how I chose this experience not only from my level but from the global level and working that within me. So every time I have a freedom within my mind, freedom within my energies, I then create more freedom in the world around me and I can actually feel it coming back to me in real time. The universe is speaking in such a way. um, our loved ones, like who are disembodied at this point, are showing us and giving us so much grace that it's been apparent to more than just me because everybody's opening up to having these conversations about the esoteric, the spiritual world, the nature of energy and the clearing
Mhm.
of energetic cycles. He straight up stole my lighting, y'all. I don't know what he's doing, but I guess he's got his own show coming soon.
I'm just gonna take this. I'm starting my own channel.
Trust me, you'll love it. It'll be adorable.
Our show is boring because yeah, yeah, he said our show is boring. Our show is boring. He could do better. He wants to show us something.
Right.
That's what he said.
And that's what I'm getting to is I'm starting to see more young people and it's funny. It's almost like they're looking at you from their old soul lens and they're just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you. Okay, don't worry. We'll get there." No, no, no. We definitely got this. Like if you don't got this, we got this. But they know we do got
Yeah,
this because it's very
yeah,
magical. It's very magical. It's very light, but it's also seeing the darkness of things, right? When I said uncomfortable
yeah.
earlier, that was the nicest way of putting how dark and uncomfortable all this have been. Especially when you have to heal those core patternings that you see that you want to switch timelines because it's apparent now. It's like if you look outside of focus, you start to see the fractaling of time and we're all stepping into
Yeah.
this newer dimension by linking up with the higher energies within each other, and that's been a really nice part of
Mhm.
it as well. How about you, Sean? How is the recent energy for you as from I guess from a masculine perspective, right? Because it seems like the feminine trend right now is just healing
Mhm.
and standing in the newness. How is that for you?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so it's sort of like the time that we are in collectively is a time in which the false matrix is asserting it's really in all truth in its death throes, but it's like a wounded animal in that while in its death throes it can be dangerous in a certain way. Sort of like a rabid animal that can attack, right? And so when we look at current events, right, and let's say from a grounded perspective, what the massive amounts of violence that we're seeing all over the world um, is is um, is part of this death throes. Is part of this asserting of itself, right? And so the masculine energy is going to always frame of reference and our primary interface point be within the linear progression of time. So connecting with events as they are in the you might call it the 3D. I'm going to use the word in the physical because I don't think I think a lot of us are simultaneously physical and different and higher than 5D, but still maintaining our physical form. And that's who we are, as all three of us are the human representatives of that. So as the false matrix feels us all slipping away, feels that it's losing its power grip, does the most that it can to try to attack and reassert and pull people back in. What as a masculine, what our job is to be penetrative at this time. So we take this divine seed, let's say the feminine collects the seed from the ethers, it crosses over to us, and then we are to penetrate it into the physical, right? And so that's what we are doing, and that's when I say, don't worry. That's what I was telling you earlier before the broadcast. We're doing our part. Like we're doing our job. Like we're doing the part where we are penetrating. So the way that I personally feel, the light in the dark for me is seeing that this violence, this global violence, is affecting my family. So I've had 3 people pass away, other people are walking wounded, that kind of thing. Other people have been getting sick, that kind of thing, and seeing it in my community in general. But what we're doing energetically about it is we actually have the authority under common law, under natural law, under divine law to call these people under arrest, you know. So we can do that. Feminines can participate in that as well. And we'll say, look, stop with your hands up. It's time for you to come down. So it's this pinpointing thing where we've got higher ups who are actually fighting this battle in the higher realms as well, because the negative asserts itself in multiple realms just like the positive does. And so while we are all working together in this way, there's this beautiful aura, there's this beautiful collective consciousness of organic divine humanity. And by participating in it and the way that I'm participating in it, doing my part, I am able to access that and lean into it as everybody else is. And so by leaning into that and accepting the call, accepting the mission, accepting the responsibility to ground the new earth here in the physical, by doing that, you lean into that collective consciousness, and that it's instantly healing, and it also brings you into the fold in terms of having a clear directionality about what to do to push this over. Because a lot of the work has been done for us already from the higher ups. Like we came here to have this experience. But what's going to have to happen is we in our human bodies, organic humans who have chosen to stay organic because we chose basically love over fear, if you want to boil it down in very simple terms. Those of us who chose to stay organic, those of us who chose to choose love over fear, the higher ups have gotten the boulder to the top of the hill, right? But it's just beneath, it's right here, and it's just beneath the top of the hill. We've got to push it over. You know what I'm saying? So we do our part energetically and in the physical, and we work together as a divine collective to do what we've already been doing. But like you guys talk about having to look at the darkness, divine feminines have historically been a little bit opposed to that when you're talking about human darkness, when you're talking
That's
about
true.
looking at like the evil people and what they've been doing. Now you guys have had to do that, and so those of us who are of a masculine persuasion, we've been doing that the whole time, and that we were more resistant to other parts of the process that you guys find more natural. So now it's that needing to merge to survive. Like that's where we all are. Like we have to merge within ourselves as twin flames, and we also have to merge in terms of collapsing all those dualities, like the dualities that we were talking about before the broadcast of light and darkness, and self and other, and leaning into that collective consciousness that I've talked about of the organic humans who are solving this problem. That is part of another part of collapsing duality. So basically, we're being pushed. We're being pushed by the esoteric spiritual reality, and now as well the physical reality, to do what the mission has been the whole time. And we're doing it together, but we're doing it faster. And so this is that point in the crucible where you feel it's like the heat is so strong that the steam comes off, like the pressure's coming out. Like this is the point at which we feel the fire that's merging us into our new form.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I've even felt at this point that, again, I guess that's why I say try something new, is because I feel like this, like I can't let these things get like almost like the best of me. It's like again, it's like if I'm feeling fear and I found myself saying again, I'm not a spirit of fear, I'm a spirit of love. And really understanding that I had some things happen, even next door, and things of me saying that beforehand I would be like, okay, no, that's all right, this peace and love, and I don't want to rock the boat, and I don't want to start, and really some of that stuff is not like you're saying about the feminine, more so of us looking at it from more of the spiritual aspect, but looking at it as more so as like, nah, hey, you know what? I think me hiding behind this is really being the excuse for me not to do what I'm supposed to do. And I'm using it as an excuse to say, it's all spiritual. But it's not. It's time for me to be able to take the gloves off and to go on ahead and push past the fear. But I've been using it as an excuse to say
Right.
it's a spiritual thing, but it's not. It's just really not me wanting to step up to the plate and actually do what I need to be doing, and to
Mm.
step out of that fear base. So I'm with you about that. That I have found myself saying again, like, he didn't give us a spirit of fear, he gave us a spirit of love, and to be able to push through that. And that's where it's been kind of like I'm seeing like roots and like a actual. Oh, it went off. I'm seeing like a little bud or a sprout coming from the dirt, and so I'm in agreement with you that that's really the thing that's going on. My thing, my light went out. What's happening with this light? That's a lie. Now it's jumping over here with me. And my light, I gotta turn my computer back on. But yeah,
Well,
so
what's interesting is, oh, sorry, I
no,
talked
I'm
over.
finished.
the light, the light theme, right? Like what's going on with the divine feminine getting back into turning on all the lights, and it's life pressures, right? That put it into that shadow period, right? Where she's finally at the point of, I'm just not going to take this anymore. Like
Mhm.
this is boundary now, and I'm going
Yes.
to allow myself to awaken into my strength and step into that masculine part, right? So when you were saying about how it's being penetrative, right? The act of putting yourself out there and being you requires shedding, because women and their extension children is about surviving and thriving within whatever space you give them, right?
Mhm.
And so part of surviving and thriving as a feminine aspect has been kind of remaining, for lack of a better word, docile, right?
Mhm.
You're aware, you're there, you're making things right, you're nurturing, you're loving, but then there have a tendency to overgive that, not set solid boundaries, not actively consider their own value, but the value of others. And
Mhm.
so in that readjustment, it's like, oh, I have all these lenses now that I get to correct simply by being female on this earth in this form based on the world around me as well, right?
Mhm.
Because even though we have all these things coming from within us, the self-worth issues, maybe the parental disconnection, all of these things, we still are in an active environment, an active society, right? Society is not the right word, but an active, like, eco soul
Yeah, right.
matrix.
Right.
Mhm.
And so embodying and becoming more in tune with the emotions, the where the actual lenses of why am I having this perspective, these subtle little things that I've put to slow myself down. It's and I look around, I'm like, well, everything is slowed down. We're trying to force it to go back up, right? They're trying to say it's got to go fast again, and we can just do all this if we just, antidote, right, for to poison. But it's not like that, because the poison has been already placed, but we've
Yeah.
been also clearing it from since before we can remember, right?
Right.
And so falling into trust again, when you are really being yourself, you're falling into your body and you're falling into trust and connection with that. And that means, oh snap, I have to actively let myself be worthy, right? I have to actively
Mhm.
let myself be heard. I actually need to not only just communicate with you and like hear what you're saying for for that connection of humanity, but
Hmm.
also say what I need to say so that our vibrations can still continue. And a
Yeah.
lot of it is has been quiet. A lot of it has been distracted, right? Because being in that helper mode or in that survival mode, that's all you're doing is helping and, loving and all this stuff. But you're like, oh, snap, where am I? And so when the mother says she's tired and she needs to take a break and figure out what she actually needs, like, what was that? Martin Luther King's wife in the bathroom, even though the kids are like everywhere, just to just take a few breaths. That's kind of
Hmm.
what the divine feminine needs or gets to do for herself to embody, because the layers of trauma are so thick that people are piercing through, and it's so easy to get them like to trigger them and for them to disassociate or for them to disconnect.
Right.
And staying present has been really interesting because it could just be a part of the body that you touch, or I work with the wombs, right? I work with yoni steaming, I work with this area. And some women, they cannot feel parts of themselves, they cannot acknowledge parts of themselves, they shut off, they leave their breathing, they stop breathing. You know what I mean? And when woman can connect with her womanhood, her
Hmm.
femininity, her organ, right? Because it's different for the masculine, but for the feminine, when she can fully connect with and hear her, because
Hmm.
she's like her own, she's a physical representation of what we're doing to our spiritual consciousness. And so
Yeah.
a lot of people are ashamed. They don't want to touch, they don't want to look at, they don't want to understand their own body and clear this energy so that they know how their whole system works. I'm not saying sit there and be thinking about your yoni all day, right? But I am saying that it's an important place to let yourself embody. And sometimes these traumas aren't even in this lifetime of trauma.
True.
Mm.
Sometimes it's like parallel existence. If a woman is hurting on this earth or being violated on this earth, I guarantee you that the women around her feel the pressure of this experience and the energies around this experience. And so we're stepping out of what we're learning, not only the individual, but the overlap, because
Right.
that's what we're doing as bodies of water. So when I go in and I heal and I embody and I do this, and then I speak up to another woman about it and how to do it, or when masculine, because masculine, feminine, and the spectrum in between, they all need their own mm, ways of being able to communicate. And in order to do that, you have to feel a level of safety. But we've been put
Yes.
at a scattered level of safety. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to basically get into is staying in body, appreciating all of the body. What is there something that you're denying or separating from with the body, be it your skin, be it your organs, be it like a certain pain in the body. All of these things have been information the whole time. We just haven't fully acknowledged them
Yes.
because we were told that the body is irrelevant, be it the mind, right? So now the mind is like, I'm overloaded, I'm repeating cycles, and we're all starting to see that.
Mm.
So how do we,
Yeah.
so let's do some problem solving for people, because that's what I felt like you did was like problem solve. It's like anchoring in to the body, embodying ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think that that is much more of a problem classically for the feminine.
Right. That's
Um,
right.
and
Mhm.
because the male, we prefer to be in the body. Do you know what I mean? We prefer the grounded experience. We prefer the linear progression, right? So I was thinking about I'm actually working with a new therapist now, and a male therapist, but and a divine male therapist. But what I'm seeing is that there's still so, especially in let's say Bertina's generation and older, there's still so much new age programming, and part of the new age programming is just that, like this concept that energy is in charge of the body, or that the energy is superior to the physical. But that is new age programming that is destructive on multiple levels. First of all, it's destructive toward the end of, like, if you are a religion such as the new age was, if you are a religion that was falsely artificially created by a power structure to colonize minds, right? Saying energy is all that's real and energy is superior to the body primes people for genocide. It primes people to accept the destruction of their bodies. Do you see what I'm saying? And
Mm.
then
Wow, wow, yeah.
yeah, and it's false. It's not true, because these bodies, right? Like, these physical bodies are energy, right? And we here on earth, the reason why we're spiritual royalty is because of how much we're able to withstand while keeping our bodies physical. Like, that's why we are the top of the heap, is because, and that why other souls look at us with that type of admiration, because of what we're capable of doing here in these bodies. The reverberation of this experience is always a waveform that's going back from subtle energy to dense energy to subtle energy. It's always going back and forth as a pulse, as a heartbeat. And so you don't say that one is the start and one is the end. It's an endless cycle, so everything is co-equal. And part of how that has come into play with the twin flame community is, well, there's more aspects I want to touch on, but one of these aspects in the twin flame community is the divine masculine and the divine feminine have to come together as co-equals, right? And that is, and so the the sexism in the twin flame community, from my perspective, tends to go the opposite direction of what you see it in mainstream society, right? So what we tend to see is there's actually, like, negative attitudes toward the male. The negative attitudes toward the male are also negative attitudes towards the physical generally, and
Mm.
that's part of that programming. So it's about coming back together and merging in the way that, accepting that those of us who are of a masculine persuasion and have been more, let's say, in the linear timeline, right? We have actually been serving a function of showing you when the earth is ready for divine truth and for the proliferation of that divine centered energy. You see what I'm saying? So when the masculines are ready for it, that's when the earth is ready for it, if that makes sense. So we've been
I,
playing that role the whole time, and it's time for us to join in co-equalness. And then the other part of the programming has been feminist programming. And what feminist programming did is that it has been co-opted by people who project as women, but not all of them actually are women. And because not all of them are actually women, they don't have the same physical connections that you have and that you have. The what you're describing there with the gynocentric aspect, right? So there was a gynocentric aspect of feminism that came through in the 70s as a reaction to the mainstream of feminism. But the part of feminism that took hold and that dominated, and that is now the feminism that we inherit now, is phallocentric feminism. So feminism that trains women to be penetrative in ways that really men are supposed to be penetrative. And women do have a time to be penetrative energetically. Like, if you look at Tantra practice, it's the female that penetrates the male energetically in a tantric context. But the feminism we inherit is the Hillary Clinton feminism, which is a female presenting person bombing the world. Like, that's what that is. And so it's actually destroying femininity. It's destroying that connectedness, because, like April said, part of you honoring yourself as a woman is honoring the community, because of the connectedness to community. It's like all of you feeling each other's pain. So that's where we need to, that's where my advice, problem solving, that's my advice to the divine feminine generally. There's still a little bit of that feminist programming to let go of, and there's still a lot of that in our community. There's a lot of that new age programming that's got to go, because it just does not help us. It hurts us.
yeah, that's a mouthful. And it's a lot to chew.
April asked for solution, so I had to go off on
I,
it.
I said, I know you did. I know you did. And so to kind of like to unpack that, that's interesting. I was watching last night. I don't know why I feel like I got to kind of break. I don't know. It's sort of like break it down. But I was watching last night a what was it called, the Oval Office, and it was so interesting that the young lady had went there. This character went to the other character is the president's wife, the first lady, and she was going to get some dresses from a young lady, a designer. She called her to come there and give some designs. So the young lady was kind of breaking it down. She said, she told her, the first lady told the designer, she said, well, you know what, you're a little bit too vulnerable. And she said, what, excuse me, what do you mean by that? She said, your vulnerability, it makes you look weak. And she's like, okay, well, let me tell you this. He said, I think you got too much masculinity. And she like,
Mhm.
so I don't welcome this conversation. She said, well, if you're going to tell me about me, I need to tell you about you, right? So let's open
Yeah.
it. And so then she's like, yeah, she said, the way you wear your makeup is too hard. The way you walk is too hard. You walk like a masculine. And she's like, And like, so she was like, she's like, and the choice of dressing that you wear, she said, you got to get in touch with your feminine side. And so she,
Mm.
oh, okay. And I thought that, and that scene to me was very catalytic, whatever. I'm making a new word because
Mm.
I was saying that, you know what? I think a lot of us women are walking around interested enough that we don't even know that we're in so much of our masculine. What kind of frequency and vibration are we really broadcasting to people out there without us even knowing it? Some of it, again, is not our fault because that's the way our mothers raised us. Either we come from a single parent household, mom's trying to teach us the best way she can to say, hey, you do for yourself, you're independent, don't worry about it. You can do without a man. That's all been said, even from the 60s, the burning of the bra period to what we're talking about now. And that's interesting how some of us just don't know. Going by social media again, as well as far as how on the outside, how we've been victimized in earlier periods, and we talking about historically, trying to be one with our bodies. We have been either been stoned at or whatever like that, been looked at upon as being, Jezebel or whatever kind of little things that comes out with that. And that's been
Mm.
something that works against us. When we were beforehand, women were looked as healers through the act of sexual. You would be able to do that too as well, and that was a way of being able to bond. That way of us understanding in the community. One thing I would say would change as a spiritual leader is us to understanding to really to use the term the divine masculine and the divine feminine in the correct way.
Mhm.
With us saying it, like you said, a lot of times, and I have to catch myself too. I put myself up there on the stake as well, or the cross or whatever. That a lot of times we find ourselves easily wanting to victimize the divine masculine energy and link it onto the male. That's not
Mhm.
what it is. I have to correct myself,
Right.
and even I've done some of my readings. I have to tell myself, you know what? When we talk about divine masculine, we're talking about the physical. How are you acting out in the world? When we're talking about the
Right.
divine, and we're talking about your spirit. So when I'm watching readings, I have to remind myself of cognizance. That's another solution. When I'm listening to it, when they're talking about divine feminine, they talk about what's going on with inside of me, like spiritually. How am I in my spirit, in my being, in my
Mhm.
heart? How is it when they talk about it? And if you're watching the readings, the karmic readings, you're okay. What's the lesson that my heart needs to learn? What's my thing, my battle that I'm going on in my spirit? That's the divine feminine so-called karmic reading, if you want to put it that way. And when they talk about the divine masculine energies, they're talking about karmic. They're talking about what's the hard lesson that the me in the physical needs to learn. It's no more so about that because it's so easy for us to go spiral like, yeah, that's right. He sure is. He don't do this. He don't do that. So I would say again, another solution to that would be again, watch how we are using the terminology. I've been saying that before. I got victimized about that. And then I had to say, okay, I'm jumping back on board again. Is the being and the doing. And another solution to it, which I've been saying and preaching from day one, is again, less in the mind, more in the heart, in everything that you're doing, because your heart will not steer you wrong. When you go in this mind, creates you more separatism. I seen that, and I liked what Kathy D had sent us, and I did watch that. I listened to it on my ride home with the conversation between Sherry and Lee and Sherry. That last one, and the things of how he just turns things like on a dime. There's like, okay, well, isn't that the reflection of how your parents taught you? And yeah, okay, now is that the way how your divine counterpart is treating you? And how simple it is, but again, the blame game. We do not want to, again, seeing our part. It's so easier for us to go on the outside to see what the problem is, more so than us to say, hey, you know what? When I'm pointing at you, these three fingers are pointing back at me. That's another solution that we need to do. So for me, those are the top three things I think that really can go with any situation. That if we get those things right, use the terminology right the way it's supposed to be, instead of linking it onto the 3D image of a man or a
Mhm.
woman, depending on who you are. And then
Mhm.
also, again, understanding our role as leaders too, as well, with the uses of it, and how we are really holding ourselves out there in the world and are projecting that image as who we are as women, because again, that keeps us out of our bodies too, because let alone talk about the body, and then you're talking about the vagina or the womb space. Oh my god, that's an extra land. I already don't like my body, now you're gonna talk about down there. So it's a whole different, thing, layering that we have to add on to it. And again, getting into the heart and the mind. So those would
Mhm.
be my, if you're talking about that.
Mhm.
But
Um, so I like to say that women like foreplay, right? Or at least I say I like foreplay. I don't know what I do. Anyway, I be doing the most. I don't even know. Woo. But I really love this conversation about bridging the spirit and the body. So the embodiment, right? The immaculate within the, you know, immaculate. Is that a real
yes,
immaculate to immaculate? Okay. Um, I don't know. I'm getting nervous, like that
I'm the
teenager
back.
kind of teenager meeting your crush kind of feeling. I have that feeling right now. Like I'm just right there, the precipice of love, and I
Awesome.
like. I'm like the precipice of love.
it's
And that's kind of how we approach it, right? Like it's one of those great, wonderful things, but don't touch it, right? Because we have this
Yeah.
flow and getting used to and having
Yeah.
greater capacity for enjoyment and pleasure in this lifetime, in this experience, expands it, right?
Yes.
So that whole there's all these colloquialisms and cliches that people use about how they avoid their own happiness or how they're their own worst enemies and so on and so forth, right? But really though, stepping into that brighter space, even if it's just a perspective on the same experience, flows in higher and higher amounts of frequency that you actually want to experience versus creating what you don't want to experience.
Mm.
So within the self, I know that when I change myself, the other changes.
Yes.
I'm not going to
Yes.
classify or judge it, right?
Right.
Because I don't want for them. I want to be with them, right? So in that space, that means
Okay.
what do I want to be? And bridging the gap between where I am and where I want to be, I'm not going to judge that gap if there's a gap. And actually reaching happiness and this enlightenment doesn't mean that there's no more, right? You don't
Right.
just suddenly stop being, there's greater capacity for even more. And
Yeah.
so let's just fall into the body now. Oh, what if I did like my body? What if I was okay with it the way it was? What if I allowed someone else to like my body the way it is? Right? It changes the whole energetics. Like you feel almost like you shifted into another space when you allow those things to hit you, when you allow those things to resonate and sit in you versus fighting it or disassociating from it. And the more we notice when we are jumping out of body or when we are feeling these energetic shifts, making notes of it and then figuring out how to dance on our own, because we all have different lenses, right? How to dance within our own self to stay in ourselves. Because that's the whole key, I think, is staying in the body for the feminine. For the masculine, it allows something differently. And I'm not even going to classify it, right? Because I want to be shown. And
Mm,
that's also bridging the gap. I know that I'm going to be shown, but the only way I can see is if I'm in the body, if I am listening, if I am seeing the cooperation of the universe that I am creating to bridge
yes.
that gap between where I am and where I think I want to be.
Yeah, and you feel your way there, and you reminded me of an essay by Audre Lorde. I guess since I'm thinking about second wave feminism tonight, you reminded me of an essay by Audre Lorde called "Uses of the Erotic as Power." And what that essay was about women finding their true eroticism, which is not the same thing as phallocentric sexuality, like penetrative sexuality, but something that is more what Bertina was describing as the internal sacred feminine, the feminine aspect, which is inside of you, and we would use language like connected to that sacred heart space, but she wasn't using that language at that time. But
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like using that as like a compass to sort of take you to where you want to go. So
Mm-hmm.
to sort of answer the question that April posed there, it's the symmetrical issue there is I would say I'm as afraid to go out of body as women tend to be to go in it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So like
Yeah.
there's a part of the divine masculine or the male ego or whatever you want to call that, the male aspect that likes to be well, say let's say in control, right? So like likes to be in control, likes to be able to stay on that linear trajectory, as 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 you say. Now I will say that I am sort of I would like to make your talking about the mind versus the heart a little bit more complex, okay? Because I think
Oh,
that's another instance of new age programming. And what I mean by that is that yes, I think we have to lead with the heart space at all times. But
mm-hmm.
I, for example, am a carrier of the divine mind. You brought up Lee and Sherry. Lee Patterson is an example of a carrier of the divine mind. You know, it is very much a natural thing for males to have a carrier of the divine mind. And I heard Kalina Malnar. Do you know are you familiar with her? Yeah,
Mm-mm.
Kalina Malnar is another. She's a light language person, and she's another twin flame person. And
Oh,
she
okay.
was
Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember it.
and she was working with a divine masculine who was not her twin flame on translating her light language, and that's what she was talking about. You know, she's like she described him in that way. He carries the divine mind, whereas Kalina, of course, is a beacon of the sacred heart and always has been.
Right.
And so these things, of course, they don't always match up to the bodies. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll get those reverso straight couples and same sex couples and stuff. So of course we're talking about the feminine aspect, but there is a polluted mind, and it's polluted by lots of things. It's polluted by programming. It's polluted by actually a nanotech and even discorporated AI. You know, there's AI floating around that is not connected to any physical robot, but is actually just energy form that has consciousness and can go around and distort your perceptions, right?
Mm,
So the mind is easier to distort than the heart. So
right.
we need to acknowledge that. Okay,
Right.
the mind is easier to control, but there are those of us on the planet who have the sacred mind. You know, the sacred mind that casts off those systems of control. like naturally, shall we say. And so that's another thing in which I don't want to create a separation, because we need to all have our sacred heart intact, and we need to all have our sacred mind intact at this time. Like we can't afford to have this dimorphism, right? We have to all be coming together as whole creatures, and that connects to sexuality as well. And there's stuff to unpack on both sides of the sexuality equation as well. And for males, a lot of times, and especially speaking as a gay male, one thing that I'm trying to heal within myself is that I'm still not at a point where I'm ready to experience sexuality and sacred love in the same person. I still want to have karmic sex, and not divine sex. And that's my own analog to what April is talking about. It's about wanting to use my body for that masculine penetrative power in a linear time space where I maintain control, as opposed to accepting a sexuality that brings me higher. Do you know what I mean? And it's really about letting go of some of that control. Because as I said before, in tantra, the feminine penetrates the masculine. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there's symmetrical fears to all of this. What were you saying, Bertina?
Yeah, I was thinking about. I took a course with Kay Moon, and she was talking about how you can be able to use, the sex as a healing, also vehicle for a lot of things there too as well. And so you might be. I don't know if in some ways, if you want to take it the spiritual way or whatever, that you are getting some of the what you need, even though this person might not be the divine person, but there is an exchange of whoever you might be bringing in, that you're not saying that you're hoeing around, but some of the while you're doing that, there is a if they're saying it's like a data exchange. There's some things that you do need from you having those exchanges from those relationships as well. They showing saying data. So what you're collecting, I don't know in your soul or in your spirit, but there is a reason for you going like that in that thing, because what she was talking about, that you can use it in a healing way, is more, according to K Moon, it's more special when it's with the one. But it seems like to me in some ways when you're doing that, not to look at the negative where they say you exchange your energies with the other ones, it's not clean or whatever, but there is everything, there's a purpose. I always believe in that anyway. And so
Yeah.
whatever you're doing in that act of with this person, that person, maybe they might not be your divine, they might be somebody else's, but there might be exchange there of some divinity of healing that needs to go on in that act. That's what they're bringing
Mm.
to as well. So, at first it might have been that way, but I think the more high you go, it's more interested with the people that you're attracting to as well. So that might be another aspect. I'm not getting deep because I am deep, but that's another way of looking at it too as
Mm.
well. Yeah, I'm with you about the heart space thing as well. I think that the people that we attract, and I kind of know our viewers, those are the ones that are, it's a lot of the overthinkers. And so
Yes.
when I'm saying about that, I want them to, I have to make it really plain, like Cliff Notes. Get out the mind, like, oh yeah, I'm with
Yes.
Sean. To see them using it as excuse. And yeah, it's the divine mind. No, you got scatterbrain and your mind is distorted. And that's why I'm
Right.
saying trust the heart first, because I can feel somebody using that as an excuse. Say, I was Sean, right. He said, my mind divine. No, wait a second. So my thing is to, again, to look at it again. Really, truly, when you're in that groove, it's almost like that maybe your mind is actually doing things.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I'm with
there's
you
a
with
difference.
my mind. The mind, let's not throw it away. It ain't throw the baby out with the bathwater either as
Right.
well. Some of us that are in this walk, the mind is tricky. It sound divine. Oh yeah, that sound real good. And before you know it, that other thing kicks in, and it's like, okay, I'm not talking to the divine mind. I don't know who the hell this is up here, but that ain't the one.
Yeah.
But what's nice is the more you
Very much.
cultivate that relationship with your divine mind, you start to slough
Yes.
off things that are not.
Right.
And
That's right.
you'll get better and better at honing this within your individual self in your connection with others. right?
Right.
Because sometimes other people's will straight come through you.
Yeah.
I've seen some really interesting levels of possession, right? Because when you're in a state of dissonance from yourself, you have the ability to easily become possessed. And that's often a space where you have these conflicts with specific people. And once you basically solve your key of disconnect, like basically once you start to learn yourself and what your triggers are and where you've acquired them, you start to unlock your ability to no longer be possessible by that energy. You know, like
Mhm.
you outsmart, I guess we'll reference it back, you'll outsmart that spiritual AI that attaches itself and works on a set of programming that has been built in. It's trying to penetrate a certain pathway, but you're like, nah, we're good with that. We don't need that anymore. And you
Oh,
start, it's
question. I just got this from somebody. What is okay? Since we talked about the divine mind, what is the divine mind, and when do you know you're in the divine mind space?
Yeah, so it's the divine mind comes from your authentic higher aspect. So it's from your authentic higher self. So you won't when you're in that space, you won't have confusion, and there also won't be multiple energies in this space because you have to think that this is the space that is most often targeted. Okay, targeted by frequency weaponry from your devices, for example, frequency weaponry from your towers, for example, your antennas, your 5G antennas, your 6G antennas, that kind of thing. Frequency weaponry, or what we would call, what some people would call curses or spell casting, right? That could also be as simple as a series, words that get stuck in your head that maybe come from somewhere else that is not for your benefit, and maybe you absorb that without realizing it. So
Right.
this space is intact.
Bad
But
things.
what's that?
I say family members, people saying same thing. You play
Yeah,
over and over again in your head. I mean, you can keep it down to physical, with tangible, concrete things too as well. They get stuck in your head, and you speaking from their voice. Okay, go
yeah.
on. I'm just,
Or like let's see, there's that Taylor Swift song, "Blank Space." So there's this chorus in there that goes like, oh, let me see if my singing voice works tonight. I don't know if it does or doesn't. So it goes
mhm.
like, it goes like, boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn ya, right? So
Mhm.
that's a spell that's put in a song that gets into your head. Boys only want love if it's torture. Then what do people go out and manifest? You know, people go out
Oh,
and manifest that. So the divine mind is the self-cleaning mind. So like just like your oven can clean itself, right? If you push a button, it'll clean itself. The divine mind continuously cleans itself out, and it pushes out those energies. And when it sees those curses and those spells and that programming, it pushes that out as well. So that's how I would describe it. You know you're in a divine mind space when you have a total utter clarity.
You can see the bullshit, and you like,
Yes.
so I'm gonna pull this back into a Freaky Friday because this is my favorite day to get freaky. Thank you, Venus. Anyway, just the representation. Time is relative, right? Um, but we're talking about the feminine getting into the body, right? And that's why I highly recommend this book.
you've been recommending that for the longest. Yep.
I was gonna do a book club on it, and maybe I will, but I really want people to take the initiative to read the book because it puts it's deeper than just, oh, I watched this episode of April talking about this book, right?
Mhm.
Maybe I would do a private course or something, on adaptations. I would never say that I know this man is and his wife. They've done a lot of work and a lot of research, and they really want to help people cultivate and be embodied. And so they also want to help people to activate these subtle energies within the body so that they become so strong that they can start perpetuating self-healing and, rejuvenation and things like that. And things that are automatically kind of turned on once if you're in like your spiritual awakening journey, right? You're going to start to see miracles and things happen within yourself. So the reason I bring this back into the sexuality is for a woman to really clear her mind. And I know it works for masculinity, but orgasms, by golly, orgasms. Now, there's a whole process for males where they talk about semen retention and, not necessarily not having orgasms, but withholding seed to preserve their mana, right? But for women, as far as I understand, yin is very cold, very watery. And for us to stay in active and in body, we need to have more orgasms, honestly. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a vaginal orgasm, but we can work our way there, though. You know what I'm saying? And we can work our way into that penetrative orgasm because the external orgasm is very, for those of us who have been graced without those pressures of the horrible things they do to women, like female genital mutilation and different things like that, right? Women who are allowed to stay in their bodies and experience pleasure, they're able to cultivate and draw in energy so much faster. They are more likely to have appreciation of their manifesting abilities. Like if you really want to get down to creation, going into that space of post orgasm is the theoretical way that a soul enters into a woman's body, right? So if we're using and alchemizing this space of the penetrative orgasm, of the embodied feeling and that radiance, we're able to really bring in our own individualized peace, I guess you could say. And so when we bring in that peace, we can bring in greater and greater capacities for that, multiple forms of pleasure, and multiple ways of kind of harmonizing with our environment, less judgment and ease. And I think that, as within, so without. So I'm all about cultivating that space, cultivating that connection. And I think that unlocking of being in the body will help the opposite energetics have its space to be able to feel more, be able to go into the esoteric and the divine mind more. And if you go into that space and a woman's had an orgasm, she's allowed herself to be in bliss, right? Which means she can then hear without any judgment or any conjecture or any type of survival mode stuff kicking in, right? And once you start to feel that collapsing down, that's when you're no longer in that connection with the you called it the divine mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're referring to it as.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can both reach that space energetically, masculine and feminine, and the range in between. We, as beings who actually have the ability, because humans are the only ones that are talking about souls on this planet. Every other being is just being, right? So we get to slow down and open into heaven on earth, right? Because this is the next golden age. It's coming. We're sloughing off these death throes, right? We're sloughing off this last little bit of cosmic uncomfortableness for our planet to really be like as beautiful as it was intended to be, and as the heaven on earth has been intended to be this whole time. So I'm excited to step into that because there's a whole lot of I feel like what I'm seeing a lot come up is justice, divine justice, cosmic
Yes.
justice. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and actively harm something, or be told, like, make it tell you that it's sorry that it did XYZ. It's actually something that's internal. It's actually something that is mental, that can be released, and the
It's
heart
both.
can be unshielded when it allows. Hmm?
It's both. No, no, we require action at this time. We require action at this time. We require that moment of a physical confrontation of physical wickedness at this time.
Mm,
I
You know.
got, yeah, I
that's
righteous, yeah, righteous
Yeah.
justice. Where
But we
it,
require that to happen in a connected way. But
mm,
I'm sorry, Bertina. I didn't mean to cut
yeah,
you
I
off.
say I call it righteous justice, where it's okay for you
Yeah.
to be like, hey, something's got to happen. It's got to change. It's got to get back, And
Yeah.
it's okay because, like I said again, us as spiritual, whether you're feminine or if you're even masculine or whatever like that, we kind of get in that place where we
Yeah.
want to have kumbaya moments with everybody, but sometimes it don't take for you to be no kumbaya. Sometimes you just got to go back, circling back to the beginning where it is what we're saying. We got to stand up. It's like, hey, I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to go into this fear and
Hmm.
the shelling like this and just go out there and make it happen. So there is
Hmm.
cause for us. We're getting pushed back to, like Sean said at the beginning, we're getting pushed back for the outside forces, powers that be, not the powers of being, or where the powers
Hmm.
of being too are pushing us to as well. To say, you got to stand up in your spirit,
Yeah.
what you stand for, and then also in the world, what we stand for, and push past that fear too as well. So
Yeah.
I'm in the group. It's an action. It is one because I can tell by
Yeah.
even with my neighbor. It's some
Mhm.
action. Like, take your trash back over there. Stop putting your trash over here. Of course, I was about to say, well, I just pray about it and I talk to that higher self. And I was like, BS, take your stuff and I'm throwing it back over there in their yard because I'm like, this is not going to work. So, again, it does take
Right.
some action and
It's
letting
time
them.
to smite. It's time to
okay.
smite.
I'll revise. I'll
Time to
revise, because
smite.
when I do this work, I also do it when I'm yoni steaming and practicing that level,
Yes.
right? Because it's a different level of alchemization and calm nervous system. One moment, please. One moment. So when I do this work, it's about divine action versus just reactionary action, right? Like, the
Yeah.
older part of me would be like, my baby, right? But like right now, it's like I have a point that I'm actually wanting to get across, and that it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to adjust. It's okay to like accept and just keep going forward, because that's the part of it
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
too.
Well, you're right. It has to be connected. So that part that you do of like creating it in creating the, let's say you create the energetic form of success, right? So like we as a global people, we're all under this attack at the same time together. And
Right,
that's why, the prayer or the energetic aspect of it is not sufficient, because the attack is simultaneously energetic and physical, right?
mm-hmm.
So the response has to be simultaneously energetic and physical. So
Right,
we as the divine, the people who are maybe the best able to do that, the divine aspect of it, we do create the victory. We create the vision of the victory in the ethers, in the ethereal aspect. And we when you're doing something particular like that, like a particular visualization, but then we go out and we physically create it as well. And
right,
there's strength in numbers, and we have to get our numbers up when it comes to those of us who are willing to go out and physically stand up. You know,
right.
that's where we find ourselves right now.
Right, that's where we are. You're right, and it's evidence. I've been seeing that too. It's like, okay, yeah, no, we went and they throw their trash over there in their neighbor in their yard for you. I was like, all right, then, that's what I'm talking about. So that makes it all the more powerful of us gathering together to do that. All right, then we have hit our 1 minute stride. I mean, 1 hour stride. 1 minute. I'm seeing that's 1:04:10 on there.
Mhm.
All right, then. So let's go on ahead and do you first. I know I got you here. It's way down here. I got to look at all of these. Scan, scan, scan. There you go. Is that right? So, what is happening over there in your world, as far as in our community tab? Let's go and talk about what great things you got there, and what things and how we can get more resources from you over there, Sean.
Yeah. Well, my big focal point right now is I'm focusing on the issues for people who took the injections because they're having their own particular struggles with the nanotech that is inside, and there's an interface from the outside as well. So I've been making a lot of blog post updates that are there for people to look at in the top upper left hand corner of the website when you go there for lots and lots of resources. And I'm actually going to publish another blog post on that there tonight. So
Oh,
I'm doing a lot of that stuff, and I'll be doing trainings on how to help people who made that decision to do the most that they can possibly do to reverse the damage and mitigate further damage. So I'll be launching that. I believe it'll be next Thursday. Like yeah,
oh,
a week from yesterday. And yes, and so I'll be doing that type of coaching. So if you go to my services, you will notice services page. You'll notice that I've got 3 new services that are special for 2021, and I believe I priced them all specially at just $35. So you've
okay.
got DNA healing and repair for anybody really, because we're all being attacked at the DNA level. But especially people who made that decision need that service. And then I've got another service for coaching, for health coaching. Now it's body alchemy coaching is what I'm calling it. That's one of my original services that I was planning to debut this summer anyway, with the original intention of focusing on weight training and strength training and weight loss. Like I was meant to, and diet and lifestyle, that kind of thing. It's called body alchemy. It's the physiological side of ascension.
Oh,
But because we're under this attack globally, I've kind of repurposed that service to focus on that population and people who want to help people in that population. So that's another service, body alchemy coaching. And then the third service that I've launched in response to all this is mission coaching. So that's
mm,
where I can bring my experience, my lifelong experience as an activist to bear to help coach people in their process of organizing themselves and their projects to get moving and get activated and bring that righteous anger to a grounded physical level, connected with the divine, so that you don't make bad choices.
right.
You need to keep that connection together so that you move in spirit, with spirit, to have that penetrative moment for yourself where you speak truth to power, or you bring yourself to bear to contribute to our collective project of liberating ourselves. So the 3 new services are there, and then most of my stuff I'm having to do on uncensored platforms. I'll have to. There will eventually be a splash page where people can find the uncensored platforms as well. But that's not quite ready yet as of now. I'm a last minute substitution here.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't have it quite ready for you. Okay,
but you ready, honey. You
this
ready?
was
See,
a surprise, a surprise. But yeah, those are the things. So the blog, check out the blog, the specialty blog for that issue, and check out the new services for new stuff from my direction.
all right now, all right there. He ready. All right there. What you got over there? Our own Hawaiian goddess.
Well, that caveat, right? I've only have like the micron of Hawaiian blood, considering I carried a Hawaiian baby. But sometimes I do be channeling goddesses, and they do have many phases. But yes, so one of the things that I thought about was my beta program. I might release it again because we were talking about a lot of the preparatory work that needs to be done, and a lot of it is um, the divine feminine anchoring in. And there's a few things that you can get on my website, and I've had it brought to my attention that it's super hard to find my services page. You can find my products, but it's hard to find my services page.
Okay.
So I'm gonna rearrange my website. I just found that out earlier, and I'm like tech minus That's not my strong suit.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But female embodiment, yoni steaming is a really wonderful practice. Feminine energy really needs to come into body. So I also have a package similar to Sean's for female embodiment. It's female focused at this time. I'll probably do some collab work. One moment, I'll probably do some collab work with Sean at Extropic Esoterica later, just to start working out
Oh,
that final. We're all gonna do collab. We're just gonna make one rope of consciousness and
oh,
spiritual, a ladder for everyone to help walk them towards themselves.
Yeah.
And then the beta program's really great. My beta program's really great because I'm helping reset and realign your chakras. I actually did um, a free series on my YouTube channel, so check it out at Golden Life Unlimited, the name that's usually under me or right next to my name. And then there's a process because my chakra work. Most people that I talk to, they go root up, right? But yeah, divine feminine consciousness is mind down, right? So we do a lot of clearing and readjusting and detachment of entities and things like that that are on the uppers in order to get you embodied into the lower. And that's going to really help anchor it. There's a lot of free work that I just did. So go ahead and check that out. I call it it's like a super human activation, basically, because all of us are turning online, but just being able to see and clear and ready ourselves, because our planet is ascending and we might as well just enjoy this new anchoring in of all of this, these downloads, left, right loads. I don't know.
it's bilateral loads. I don't know where that came from, but it's all over the place. Let me see. I'm trying to find mine. Where am I at? Okay, that is not me. Hold on. I got 50 million things up here. No, that's not really the right one. Let
She's
me see.
here for everything that you need, all the ones you want.
Yeah, like my
You
cousin.
want it, she's got it.
You want, you got it. But what I would really say is, I think April had said that earlier, where there are some things underlying. No, maybe it was Sean. There was a lot of things that's happening that's from different. No, it's April, from different timelines that's coming all together, and you don't know how you're healing through all those things. It might be both of you anyway. And so that is where I am now, is really trying to see how things are bleeding on into the present life that you are now, whether it's your past or even the past life in this one or other past lives and other ones, and how that theme is playing out. So I'll give you an example. In some ways, like you might have issues with a family member, and you might want to say, okay, I think I'm all right with this person, but why is this thing keeps on coming out? So maybe you might have a thing about uh, maybe you might find out in another past life you have abandonment issues. Your mother abandoned you, or in another life you had to take care of your mother and you really didn't want to. And so all those kind of things are bleeding into where you are now. So I really want to go into that work as far as us going back in the past life regression. I don't like the title. I wish I could find another way to title it, because the way I do it is really like we set forth an intention and we go back and find what lives help to understand that intentions for why you're coming to that session, to unpack all of that stuff and then really get you some answers, because everybody's like, wow, I wish I would have known this, because now I'm really understanding how to connect the dots. And so this is what really that surface is about. It's not about seeing, were you Cleopatra, were you a camel rider or a trainer in another life or whatever it is. It's about really trying to see, is like, it's this theme that's going on and I can't understand why is it playing out right now in my life, where I'm at in this point in my life. And so this helps you to really unpack that. So you could need to go to AshantiWellnessCenter.com and get a past life regression session to really see how you can connect the dots to this theme of something that keeps on instantly replaying, and it gives you the answers that you need or you're seeking for in that. So that's really my main thing that I'm really liking to do right now with people and really help them to get the answers. So go over there to AshantiWellnessCenter.com and really look into mine is unique. Yes, April.
So one of the things I could say is after getting a session with her, the past life, I guess the evolution of now, right? Because
I like.
you don't want to downplay now, but all of these things compact into now. And so you start to see how you pulled these things from your other lives into your that mirror similar experiences in this lifetime. And so it helps you better process this lifetime's worth of stuff. Because the point is to not only do the healing of the past, but also the healing of now and this body and this temple and this current experience, and being embodied and healing in this space then allows for now to expand into something even greater and better and more in alignment with your highest self and purpose.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Okay. So that's kind of really what it is. It's expansion, help you with that through looking through the other lifetimes to help you expand and to grow and to heal in the life that you have now. So that's it. That's when she wrote my commercial. Yes, that is it. All right, then, people. So always remember that you need to make sure I got all these thousand things up here to click, like, share, and subscribe to this channel as well. This probably will be the last one on this one. We're going to flip back over to the playground experience. Please make sure that you are going over there and you have subscribed to the playground experience, because we will have a lot of other people coming in and out in the co-host chair, as well as I've been corrected about on that. So please make sure that you are here to get all that good juicy stuff, information from the playground experience from whoever we have in the cold chair spot. All right, get us on out of here. All right, starting with you, April. What's your sign off? She knows hers. I'm gonna give Charlotte.
Stay blessed. Stay blessed, stay golden, and remember, you were made for this golden life.
That's right. And shine.
How about mine tonight is stay your ass alive. How about that? Stay your ass alive. Stay your ass alive.
I like it. It's simple. It's to the point. That's right. That's it's certain it's several ways that you can be alive. Remember that. All right, and as always, stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay ascended. Namaste, namago. Love you. Until next time.